And welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I am Valerie Nye. I'm the library director at Santa Fe Community College. And I'm joined tonight by Austin Eichelberger. He is a professor of English here at Santa Fe Community College. And we've been working together to plan this series. We're really happy to have this opportunity to bring you all together. To have people who are interested in literature and creative writing come together to learn, to listen, and to share. So thank you for being here. We have designed this reading series to follow a sequence, and I just want to explain what that sequence is. So this week, we're delighted to host Manny Loley as he reads his work, and next week, he'll be returning to inspire our group with some interactive creative writing activities. And to follow this pattern next month, we'll welcome Serena Rodriguez. She will also share her work, and then not the immediate week following her reading, but the week after that, she'll guide us through some engaging creative writing exercises as well. And since the writing exercises are short, we have an hour together to generate some work. The time just doesn't allow us to share our work with each other. So the series is going to culminate in a reading, which will happen at the first week of May, and we'll all have an opportunity to share works we've generated through this series, the work that's been inspired by our authors and guides. So I will share, let's see here, the schedule for the remaining series. And I don't think it's too early to announce, Austin, you can tell me if this is wrong, but we are working on a fall series as well, which we'll be announcing people and dates for, but we're just really excited to be in the midst of so many creative people and keeping the opportunity to keep this series going. So we'll be sharing more information about that as we move forward with it. I also just wanted to assure everyone who signed up for the reading this evening will continue to receive the Zoom links for the remaining of our spring session. And I'll put in the chat the remaining dates for the series and also a link to the SFCC Creative Writing Program if you're interested, so you can access that all easily. And so with that, I am excited to turn things over to Austin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to give you a little intro and then introduce our reader, Manny Loley. This reading is brought to you by the Santa Fe Community College Library and Creative Writing Program, partnered with the Creative Writing Programs at the Institute of American Indian Arts. We're thrilled to have you join us tonight for this special reading event, and we hope you will come back to celebrate the power of words and storytelling at our future events. Tonight's gathering is an invitation to those who have passion for the written word. If you've ever dreamed of becoming a writer, whether you'd like to craft compelling fiction, pen evocative poetry, or explore the world of nonfiction, SFCC and IAI are waiting to hear your voice. We all believe that writing is not only a useful and practical skill, but an art form that has the potential to transform lives and connect people across time and space. Both the IAIA and SFCC writing programs nurture aspiring writers, providing them with the tools, guidance, and inspiration to take their creative passions to new heights. The faculty of both institutions are published authors and professional editors, and students at both schools work closely with professors and peers to develop, revise, and publish creative and academic writing in a range of genres and formats. One reason we have partnered is because SFCC's and IAI's writing programs complement one another. SFCC offers a certificate and an associate's degree in English language creative writing, while IAI is home to a bachelor's degree and a master's of the fine arts program. Some SFCC creative writing students go on to complete their bachelor's degrees at IAI, giving them the skills and experience to submit manuscripts for publication, pursue a career in editing, or continue their studies in creative writing. Please see the chat for links to our program's websites where you can find more information about both schools' offerings, including our literary magazines, Chapter House, and the Santa Fe Literary Review. And SFCC's entire program can now be completed online, in case you're not in the area. For those of you who are considering your own creative writing journey, we encourage you to get in touch and ask us any questions you have about our programs. Whether you're an experienced writer looking to take a single course or a complete novice ready to explore your creative potential, we have classes and resources for you, and we are waiting to hear your voice. I'm Austin Eichelberger. I'm a creative writing faculty at SFCC, as Val said, and I just want to thank everyone for being here and for our local press coverage for drawing in so many people. You're about to hear from Manny Loley, a friend of mine and a creator. I don't just want to say writer, a creative being that I really admire. Manny Loley is a Diné storyteller. He earned a Ph.D. in English and Literary Arts from the University of Denver and an MFA in fiction from the Institute of American Indian Arts. Loley is an inaugural In Na Po Fellow and a member of Said B. Hozo, Diné Writers Collective. Since 2018, he has served as director of the Emerging Diné Writers Institute at Navajo Technical University. His work has found homes in Poetry Magazine, Pleiades Magazine, the Massachusetts Review, the Santa Fe Literary Review, Broadsided Press, the Yellow Medicine Review, and the Diné Reader, an anthology of Navajo literature, among others. His writing has been thrice nominated for Pushcart Prizes. Loley is at work on a very beautiful novel titled They Collect Rain in Their Palms. So now I would love for all of you to direct your attention to our guest. Welcome, Manny.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up? Sorry for the not so adequate surroundings here as I'm zooming in from my car. I had thought the library would have some rooms available for my last minute entrance into the library, but they don't. So we roll with it. So here we are. Yat e anotso. Sheya Ashihin Shlindot Hobajna Aja Bashichin, Torich Ini Dashichado, Kia Ani Dashanale, Nlaid Setcha, Tog Ole, Walienigi de Ayasi Nasha, Akonde, Nlaid Isekade, de Ayasi Kehasht, Belaganik Echa Eya Manny Loley Dashijine, Akot A, Nehokat the end the Ninchle. Hello, everyone, and good wishes to all of you. I am Salt Clan, born for two who came to the water. My maternal grandparents are the bitter water, and my paternal grandparents are the towering house. I'm from a place on the Navajo Nation called where the water flows through the rocks. But more specifically, in that community, I'm from a place called where the trees are spread out. And in the English language, my name is Manny, and that's how I identify myself as an Earth surface person. So thank you for joining me this evening. And thank you to Austin and Val for thinking of me and for supporting my work. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to share a few poems and maybe talk a little bit about the poems. Recently, majority of my work has been in the Navajo language. Writing poetry in Navajo follows a different set of rules and a different set of philosophies in terms of poetry. And so I'll read some of those tonight. But I wanted to start with a poem that was featured in an online project. And I forget the project title, but it's through Mass Poetry. I think the project was The Hard Work of Hope. So if you Google The Hard Work of Hope Mass Poetry, this is the poem that's featured there. And it's titled Awakening, with lines from Zaina Hashem Beck. I am tired of knocking on the doors of empires. Along my knuckles, fault lines split open. White shell, ichor red. But don't you know I've been here since the beginning? Since Ani sang the world into being. Blue mist in the valley, sunlight filtered through turquoise, abalone shell, glittering earth all around me. My universe is no lawless one, nor sin, as you've called it. I've been afraid of this awakening, this white mountain lightning. Now there are no doors, no locks, no latches. Only my voice calling names older than this English language. Hasht Diné, Nilch Diné, Nihokati Diné, Nads Elid, Shinago, Naadils on. And so that poem, the ending line, references a rainbow that encircles the speaker. And in Navajo philosophy, if you look at the Navajo Nation flag, there's a rainbow on the outer edge of the flag, because that's one of our protections as Navajo people. And so that was purposeful when I ended the poem with the rainbow imagery there. This next poem is for my nephew. So a part of my dissertation project at the University of Denver was to utilize the Navajo cultural stories as a way to view our own literature on our own terms. And I started collecting and learning these stories for my nephew. So in Navajo traditions, my older brother's son, my nephew, is also my son. And so I refer to him as Shiyet, my son. And so I've been collecting stories for him to pass on to him so that he can embolden himself with these stories. And so these stories can protect him. And so this is a poem that I wrote for him. Let There Be, for Jaden Peter Morgan. A good poem is summer, my nephew said. Mirage rising from cornfields midday, pollen on our tongues, each syllable flecked with sunbeams and names not said. Shiet, my son, you should know the voice isn't ours alone, but a dwelling space, a Hawan's cool inner darkness before ceremony. It is you who will heal these wounds. A good poem is song, I said. So let there be mountains singing in all directions. Let there be laughter, uninterrupted and innocent. Shiyet, what joy you are. Nahoniltka, nahaltkin, nahaltka. And so the ending of that poem references rain. It says, rain is on the horizon. Rain is approaching. Rain is overhead of us. And so in Navajo, when you go to cultural ceremonies or when you go to community events, oftentimes you'll see older people after they finish a meal or after they share a laugh with somebody, they'll say, Nahotkan, meaning it has rained, meaning I have been blessed. I have been satiated with this moment, and let this moment nourish me the way that rain does, the way that water does. And so that's why I chose to end that poem with that rain imagery. Yeah, so I'm going to share some poems in Navajo. And when I share these poems in Navajo, what I want everyone to pay attention to is the sound of the Navajo and the rhythm of the Navajo. And then I'll read it in English, and it'll be up to you to make of the poem what you will. This first Navajo poem was published in Poetry Magazine. The Diné poet Esther Boleyn, she did a special issue of Poetry Magazine on land acknowledgements. And so this poem is featured in that publication. So first in Navajo and then in English. Hasisna, Toyasan Shama Dishnigo, Nahasan Shama Dishnigo, Nit Bitlate Hasisna, Nahasan Shema Bijye Chahye Hadit Ego Biyeten Hasisna. In Sahake Spahawanden Hasisna. Saad Bahawanden Hasisna. Hawande Nansa. Hawande Nansa. And now in English. Emergence. I call out for water woman, my mother. I call out for earth woman, my mother. I emerge from below the earth's surface. I emerge from within sacred darkness. that cradles my mother, earthwoman's heart. I emerge at the house made of thought. I emerge at the house made of language. I am home. I am home. Yeah, so that poem is a reflection on creation stories and the ways in which we originate into places. And so that might be something for everyone to think about is, what is your origin story? How did your people originate into this world? And how do you carry that legacy with you as well as a person, a human being? This next poem is also in Navajo, translated into English, and it's a poem for my grandmother. We lost my grandmother in the early part of December, and my family is still very much dealing with the grief and the absence. A large part of my poetics stems from my grandmother. I used to read my Navajo poems to her first, and she used to give me notes. She was my first poetry mentor. And although my grandma only went to Western schooling until the 7th grade, she was a phenomenal storyteller and a phenomenal poet. She spoke the language of poetry effortlessly. And so this is a poem inspired by her, for her, and I hope it gives you something significant. First in Navajo. Dahit behani. Dit lechona dahit Shamasana hoshidin need. Lechona dahit go. Zastayokal, beyin dayokal. Nahara dayokal. Bitsado inanigi nahalingo dayokal. Chahal biyiten dahna elgo. Lechona dahit go. Os lechona yenaiya. Chahal nahastlin. Remembering a crescent moon. Tonight, a crescent moon. My grandmother told me when the moon is a crescent, it cradles snow, it cradles sacred songs, it cradles ceremonies. Like the basket of life, the moon holds these things. Within hallowed darkness, a crescent moon floats. Clouds obscure the moon. Everything is darkness again. That poem is an interesting one because a lot of non-Navajo readers will interpret the darkness at the ending of the poem as something negative. But the way that the darkness is constructed in Navajo at the ending of the poem, it says, meaning everything is darkness again. But that phrase, nahastlin, is also present at the end of our prayers when we say, meaning it is peace and beauty and harmony again. And so for our epistemology as Navajo people, the darkness is a sacred entity. It represents rest. It represents rejuvenation. And so for everything to become darkness again is for it to be rejuvenated, for it to be at peace, for it to be at calm. So just a little bit about that poem. Yeah, so I had lunch with my little brother today. He just turned 24. I can't believe he's already 24. And we went to lunch together, and I bought him a late Christmas, or not Christmas, a late birthday present. And we just had a pleasant day together. And so the next poem I'm going to share, again in Navajo and then in English, is a poem for my brothers. And it is a poem inspired by a story. And so both of my brothers are veterans. They're warriors. They served their term and now they're home with us. But when they were serving their term in the military, especially my older brother when he was overseas, in Afghanistan and other places, I wrote this poem thinking of that. So this is something I've been experimenting with for a while, and I've recently started to share it. So this is a poem for my brothers, first in Navajo and then in English. Big Eti Shal, Dag Goya, Kostil Yestayis, Nil Sambaka has lean at Sinith ish na Altschasko, na Ashoitich Iji Yagal Ado na Hinil Yesego Hati Shabbat all shich na deilgo kinshnish. At sinitlish shich agil skisko yishthango kinshthe. Alla shisalin shitzilgo adashila. A could an hokadi in the ne ajahna shado. A could ego tidid nehi big etish lindo. A hol ago inna do nideneshko do leil. I will persist. Down at the cornfield, dark clouds suddenly appear. Male rain has formed. As lightning scatters all around, horned toad walks calmly about. With no fear, horned toad sings. Sunlight scatters around me, and I tear a piece. Lightning whips toward me, and I break off a piece. Both become a part of me and make me strong. With these weapons, I will protect the earth's surface holy people. In this way, I will overcome all fear and danger, and life will continue forever. Yeah, so it's a special poem. So if anyone's feeling like they need some strength, hopefully that poem will offer you some strength, because we all need strength. Let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna read another poem in Navajo. If anyone is interested in Navajo poetics and seeing how the Navajo poetry looks on the page, this next poem was commissioned by Broadsided Press. And Broadsided Press does a really cool thing where they work with poets and visual artists to create broadsides, which are poetry posters. And so this next poem is available to download for free on Broadsided Press's website. And so you can print it out and you can put it wherever you want to put it. And yeah, it's a way to appreciate Navajo poetry and all poetry. So first in Navajo, well, let me switch it up. Let me do it in English and then I'll do it in Navajo. So that way you're maybe more aware of what's happening in the poem. So first in English and then in Navajo. The language of corn pollen. From the center of the cornfield, the language of corn pollen sounds. When the corn stalks rustle, as they say, whoosh, whoosh, in the wind, they remember the rain. They remember our beauty and our hurt. The language of corn pollen moves within me, woven into mountain song, dawn song, my name in my mother's voice. My tears are raining. From the center of the cornfield, the language of corn pollen makes everything beautiful and harmonious. Now in Navajo. Tchadadin bazad. Dag atnito tchadadin bazad aditsa. Daat yagad go. Da nigo nahtkin go betajilni. Daat the ne hojoniye do bich itahui nanigi betajilni. Tchadadin bazad yisanko shanaishna. Shanageish tho nahtkin. Dag atnito tchadadin bazad daat hojonastlin. So yeah, poem about corn pollen. Let's see here. I think I'll read a few that are in English now, just to give us a switch up from the Navajo. A while back, there was a art exhibit in Gallup, New Mexico. And if any of you are familiar with Gallup, New Mexico, Gallup is a town bordering the Navajo Nation. And it goes by many names, including Drunk Town and other variations of that name. And it's not the best place in terms of relating to Navajo people throughout history. And so the art gallery, Art 123, commissioned this poem for an exhibit about the unfair trading practice in Gallup, about how these trading post owners would swindle Navajo people out of jewelry, out of rugs, out of all of these things that Navajo people would make and sell to support their families. And so there these trading posts, if you've ever been to Gallup, they have these huge storage vaults in back of the trading posts that are under tight security and that are locked up very in high security. And these storage vaults contain thousands and thousands of turquoise necklaces and other types of necklaces made from precious stones and silver concho belts. So if you've ever been to Santa Fe, you've probably seen all these jewelries in the stores up there. Now imagine that in a trading post that's just stored in the vault that's being kept from Navajo families. Um, this is a poem about that. And it begins with a quote. Cowboy pays homage to the Southwest. Quote, the trader must hold it, a valuable necklace or belt, not at its sale value, but according to how much he thinks the owner of his family will ultimately be willing to pay in trade to reclaim it. From Dane and Mary Coolidge's The Navajo Indians. Nostalgia sweeps a cowboy west toward the splendor of the great American desert, toward yawning canyons, boundless mesas, massed clouds on the horizon. The history of trading posts is cowboy and Indian, cowboy mythology, an American document painted in the brushstrokes of blood. Red mesas, red sand, disappears our footprints. This American saga unfolds in the warp of my auntie's loom, where tears form rain clouds. The good things we enjoyed were of our own making. Cowboys pay homage to the Southwest in a storage vault hidden from Navajo eyes. Yo dotleje, turquoise necklaces hang from wooden rafters. Yo de chile, necklaces of abalone shell hang from rusted nails. Yo bashine, necklaces of jet hang next to stolen rugs. Yo yolgai, necklaces of white shell hang next to dull concho belts. Nahuilpihe, the gambler, must be proud. Pawn tickets, yellow and curl at the edges. Nit is the yingo bechadilyan a sacred stone offerings blows away in the dry breath of a whirlwind. Nilsa ha'achigo datika. And so that poem mentions Nahuilpihe, the gambler. In Navajo storytelling, there was a time when this gambler swindled all of the local tribal people in the Southwest out of their precious jewels and their precious stones. And when it came time, when all the jewelry and all the valuables ran out, people started to bet their lives and they started to bet the elements, especially the rain. And so the ending of that poem says, the rain has departed over the horizon because all those jewels are locked up in trading posts. They're locked up in Santa Fe. And we used to offer these sacred stones to water sources in the desert to call the rain so that the land can be plentiful. But as the poem says, the rain, the moisture has departed over the horizon. So, okay. How am I on time? I'm just like reading, not like cognizant of the time.
You still have half an hour. You were all
Okay.
good.
Okay. Um, I think I'll just do a few more, maybe 3 or 4 more. This next one is a poem half in Navajo, half in English. And if you're interested in seeing how it looks on the page, you can go to greenlindenpress.com, and it's titled Coyote Story. So Green Linden Press, Coyote Story. So the first half is in Navajo, and then the second half is in English. Coyote Story. Ashkeda jine do adil deni jogal jine. Ye kaida jogal jine. Hashi jogal jine. Inde shingo do bahaneta. For now, the story must stop. Outside, sunbeams ribbon cornfields. Each green spine a meeting place, a cha'o. Woolajine in the cornfield, Anile in the cornfield, Nahak Izzy in the cornfield, Wanesh Chindi in the cornfield, Dag Echo Yiltahasin, a song to call the inner spirit. Awake, each corn plant opens, its tassel blooming, like hands splayed in offering. Our dreams were born in the Our dreams were born in the dance of corn tassels, singing, I am ready, I am ready, that precedes the dawn, and all our prayers streaked beyond the brilliant sunrise. Nijonago hayilka, hayolkas biyaja ane, hayolkas biyaja bine hosoltsan, hodiyengo aditsan, shinago da altshoja aditsan. And so the ending of that poem talks about a beautiful sunrise, and somewhere in the sunrise, Dawn Boy, his voice is sounding, and you can hear it all around you. And yeah, so that's the ending for that poem. Some of these poetry, I don't translate it because I want to keep it special for Navajo understanding only. But I'll make a brief summary of it without a direct translation. So there's that. Let's see here. Okay, this one's short. First in Navajo, then in English. Nods idlid biyiten tho tahneke nilsa alkhas e haya tho biyaj ndaina ahe dahanda jol at sinitlish alnathash. Now in English. Inside the curve of a rainbow, waters collect, rains emerge, rivers move, mists float, lightning flashes. That poem is very short, but if you unpack it and analyze it, it has a lot of cultural meaning and significance. One of our deities has a rainbow on its back, and it's believed that the moisture starts from that rainbow. The moisture is inside the curve of the rainbow. And so that's what it comes down to. And my favorite line, my favorite image in that poem is the last line in Navajo, which says, "Atsinatlish asnathash." That word asnathash, meaning lightning flashes. But when you look at the word asnathash, it means like when a lightning bursts apart and it webs across the sky, it forks across the sky, And the ashna tush, like the tush, it's an onomatopoeia. It literally means references a whip or a crash. It's a beautiful word. If a lot of Navajo people really gravitate towards that imagery. One more, I'll share one more. Yeah. So one of my poetry mentors, who's also my grandfather, is the Navajo poet Rex Lee Jim. So if you're not familiar with Rex Lee Jim's work, I strongly recommend that you check his work out because his work is really foundational for Navajo poetics and Navajo storytelling. Um, he's a poet, a playwright, a storyteller, a medicine man, a former vice president of the Navajo Nation, Princeton alumnus, and he's just an all-around wise and great person. And so this is a poem that I wrote for him, inspired by him. And it's a poem that has helped me a great deal in terms of thriving and persisting. And so if anybody is going through a tough time in your life, I hope this poem brings you some sort of resilience because it has done that for me many times. And so I'll share it in Navajo first and then in English, and maybe talk a little bit about the poem, and then we'll conclude. Dole biyin sad la Rexley Jim bits bishja. Hode yada dole hat jine bit dot legend hayil kango na hadlingo dot leg. Nled zil kake dole yit ako. Sisna jine haseya ade the yendene big inya. Ade the yendene shich hadzi. Bizad nadan bitsiga yagad go. Tchadadin be ahajon go nahadlin go shich hadzi. Get sho. Isin Sisna jine bekago hajon shil ahot Di be nansa, di be nashet zil dolel, di be sheina nasht et dolel, di be na hojon dolel. Bluebird's Song with lines from Rexley Jim. At emergence, Bluebird was singing with deep blue wings like dawn rising. Flying near the mountain's crest, Bluebird called out. I ascend White Shell Mountain. At the summit, I come upon the holy people. At the apex, the holy people speak to me. Their language is corn tassels dancing, corn pollen all around, beauty and harmony restored. Like this, they speak to me. Be still. Listen. Can you hear it? On White Shell Mountain, I am whole. I am peaceful. With this, I return. With this, I will be strong. With this, I weave my life into being. With this, let there be oneness. And I think I'll just end it there. I think that was a good way to end. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Manny. We just put some links to the SFCC Creative Writing in the chat and II Creative Writing in the chat if you would like to take a look at those. Thank you so much for sharing your work and your words with us, Manny. I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say we are awed and so honored to have you here and to have you share what you've shared with us. We really appreciate it. And is that it, Val? Are we?
I think so. We'll look forward to everybody coming back next week.
Yes.
And I just want to emphasize, there's not going to be any pressure to share what you write. This is for everyone, no matter how long you've written or if you've never written at all. This is an opportunity to have Manny come and talk to us again and to engage in some creative thinking, wherever that may take you and whatever that may mean to you. So thank you all, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week, Manny. Have a good evening, everyone.
I also just put an article about Rex Lee Jim, who Manny mentioned, in the chat if you would like more information about that poet and would like to find out more. Please check that out, and we hope to see you all next week. Thank you.